Be aware what you cultivate as God in your life, because all pathways will aim towards that cultivated God. Quote, masculine theory. Modern man worships false gods. Therefore he is dying inside. Comfort, its weakening safety, absolute freedom, the consumption of fleeting desires, and maximizing lust and pleasures have become modern man's new gods. In pursuit of absolute freedom, the individual is no longer bound to a sense of belonging, and therefore he feels no sense of purpose. Society has deconstructed the identity of the individual, and with it, his sense of meaning in life. With no overaching direction, he's left disoriented. Absolute freedom as such is worthless. It lacks a framework in which creation can take place that gives it direction. Without direction, this freedom produces no fruit. Only involvement in a cause greater than oneself allows the exercise of freedom to create something of meaning. The modern man is cut off from this direction. He is deeply hindered in giving love, cut off from giving his best. He no longer creates with excellence. Therefore, modern man is not fulfilling his purpose. He resists breaking free. Instead, he becomes stagnant, filled with unused tension, which turns into frustration. Frustration from not giving, frustration from not creating, frustration from not loving, and ultimately not being and not doing what he's meant to be and what he's meant to do. To escape this discomfort, he seeks distractions outside of himself. The modern man is unhappy. He is deeply imbalanced. And the source of his imbalance manifests in his weakness. All of his problems stem from his inability to control his inner emotional state. Quote, masculine theory. Modern man withholds his deepest gifts, choosing instead to follow a preset path laid out by society, teachers, and parents. A path that drains him of meaning, hope, and purpose. Trapped in this lifeless routine, this numbing routine, he feels depressed, frustrated, and empty. He no longer speaks the language of purpose, which is creation. Giving the world his best, and in doing so, expressing deep love. He is distracted, drowning in comfort and seeking pleasures through instant and short-term gratifications, unable to hear what he's called for. Most of mankind takes the miracle of life for granted. They are just in it to survive. They have not yet undertaken a conscious project to make something amazing out of their lives, to honor this gift of life, the miracle of existence. They are just surviving like animals, having fallen into complacency. Most people don't have the aspiration to turn life into an art form and to live beyond just survival. Quote Leo Gura from actualize.org. When a man turns away from giving what flows deep within him, the force meant to impact the world, he is left with frustration and meaninglessness. Deep down, he knows something inside of him longs to come alive. Man is meant to spread love, passion, and consciousness by being aligned with his purpose. Most men cannot survive being their true authentic selves. In choosing the average route, school, a safe job, retirement, they sever ties with their true essence. As a result of this lifelong stagnancy, they experience different forms of decay, such as mental entropy, spiritual entropy, and ultimately physical entropy. Entropy is the supreme law of the universe and states that everything tends towards chaos if not nurtured. Entropy in your life occurs as slow erosion and degeneration of your abilities, your talents, your passions, ideas, visions, inspirations, all your systems and constructs, such as the relationship with your partner, your strengths, so to speak, every domain that needs to be fueled with excellence and greatness in your thoughts, decisions, and actions in order to sustain. The system in which most men are trapped drains their time, their energy, essence, and sense of purpose. Within this spiritual numbness, he is reduced to a mere biological and economic unit. Over time, he forgets his dreams, his unique ideas, and the fire that once burned within him. He settles for a life that is safe, predictable, mediocre, and unremarkable. A life just like everyone else's. It is no wonder why the deconstructed, gutted, and uprooted person has no inner strength to create something out of nothing and to give from within. There is nothing there. This person has nothing inside to give. Instead, he looks for what will fulfill him outside of himself, in the indulgence of absolute freedom that will satisfy his every urge and impulse. If your thoughts, your decisions and actions are of mediocrity, your outcome will eventually be entropy. Mediocrity means randomness, Randomness increases the potential for negativity in your life, and thus entropy. Excellence and greatness are your answers. They increase the potential for positivity in your outcomes. Strive for them, aspire them. Movement is the antidote to stagnation and thus entropy. Movement is change, but change needs excellence in order to truly happen. Masculinity flourishes on frontiers, open space to conquer, challenge, discomfort. Physical frontiers, intellectual frontiers, business frontiers. The masculine man arises on frontiers because there he learns to take responsibility, cooperate, build self-reliance, take care of himself and others, and to be vigorous in his thinking. Having relationships and space to conquer are the two masculine needs. But today, everything seems conquered. When everything is seemingly conquered, the heroic impulse inside of man gets crushed. Hopeless men retreat to fantasy worlds. When you feel like you can't really progress in life, when you feel like you can't really progress in your real job, you start progressing in superficial things where you can do that, where you can level up. You procrastinate and waste your real lifetime. Quote Christian Bell in his book, The Psychology of Slaying Dragons. Many men realize this. They are fully aware of their situation, yet they feel helpless and unwilling to change. This realization fills them with fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of stepping outside of their comfort zone. But this very fear, this experience of entropy and its symptoms of decay, is the tipping point. This is the moment they could really start to break free. A life of folly is empty of gratitude, full of anxiety. It is focused wholly on the future. Quote a maxim of ancient Greece. The only way out is the way in. Instead of facing discomfort, fear, failure, and the unknown, most men fall into a cycle of avoidance and escapism. Their default state becomes one of chaos, distraction, and lack of clarity. This makes them receptive for distracting vices that provide temporary relief and comfort. They turn to immediate gratifications such as, in the grand scheme, safe but unfulfilling jobs, meaningless relationships, chasing empty materialism, and on a smaller scheme, social media, pornography, mindless entertainment, drugs, alcohol, video games, etc. Cheap and easily accessible pleasures that offer a momentary escape from the discomfort of their reality. But in the end, weaken man mentally, spiritually, and physically. All these indulgences share a common trait. They focus on taking, not giving. The driving question is, what is in it for me, rather than what can I give? These indulgences provide a brief, numbing effect, a way to forget the frustration, the emptiness, the deep knowing that what's missing is purpose and a sense of meaning in their life. Purpose is found in focusing on solving meaningful problems. Meaningful problems are found in the unknown, outside of your zone of comfort. But these distractions do not fill the void. The relief is unsustainable, and when they return to reality, the pain hits even worse. So they seek escape again, falling deeper into dependence on these vices and their sense of false comfort. It becomes a cycle, temporary relief, followed by deeper despair, followed by another desperate attempt to escape. Over time, this downward spiral erodes their ability to take control of their life. They drown themselves in distractions until they forget not only their suffering, but also the ambitions they once had. They no longer feel alive. They're simply existing. And in this state, they are most vulnerable. They become slaves to their cravings and urges, addicted to momentary pleasures, yet completely detached from lasting fulfillment. The tragedy is that they mistake this numbness for comfort. They would rather feel nothing than to face the terrifying truth. They're dying inside. To break free, you must first allow to let your old self die. Death is the catalyst for transformation. But this isn't the kind of death where life simply ends. It's the death of illusions, of false identities, of the weak and purposeless versions of ourselves that we have outgrown. Most men resist this experience of death and would rather remain in the illusions of their stagnant comfort. They fear it, even as they suffer under the weight of a life that no longer serves them. But this resistance only prolongs their suffering. The longer they are attached to comfort, the deeper they sink into mediocrity, and thus, in the long term, into entropy. But the death of weakness and mediocrity is necessary. When you are stripped of the false layers, the empty distractions, and the illusions of safety, you are left with only the truth of who you are, your essence. This is the edge most men never reach because they fear it too much. But for those who embrace this moment of conceptual nothingness, in which they realize their essence, it becomes their greatest opportunity. With nothing left to lose, they have everything to gain. The concept of the unknown is no longer a threat. It is a doorway to endless opportunities. And on the other side is the man they were always meant to be. Your high level of commitment only comes from heroism birthed within a deep realization of mortality. Quote Christian Bell in his book, The Psychology of Slaying Dragons. The realization that everything in life is passing. If you don't seize the moment, it never returns. Your time, your strength, your relationships, your material resources, all that you have built up, your opportunities, chances, your ideas and dreams, etc., etc. They are all impermanent, finite. Without presence, action, and putting your excellence into them, they fade, falling apart sooner than you expect. Things start falling apart from the moment on they are created, if they are not nurtured with excellence. You start to die from the moment on that you are born. There is only this moment right now. Take advantage of all the chances and opportunities you're given. Memento mori. Don't live for the want of this realization. Have this realization right now. The sooner you can die, the sooner you can live. In the face of death and mortality, you awaken to what truly is important and essential. Without the awareness of death, everything is ordinary, trivial. It is only because death is stalking us that the world is unfathomable mystery. Tension calls forth all greatness. Suffering distills all wisdom, and war, the frontier, creates all virtue. Another quote by Christian Bell in his book, The Psychology of Slaying Dragons. Your suffering often seems isolated and disconnected from the greater context of life. Your mind tries to make the impermanent, your suffering, permanent, which is self-deception. You feel the pain because you do not understand the purpose behind your suffering. Conflict, when aligned with your goals, your purpose, becomes an inevitable companion on the journey towards your self-actualization. We must decide to live at our edge. We must leave behind the weak, the miserable, and average version of ourselves, the one that merely exists but does not live. That version suffers without meaning, trapped in eternal, purposeless pain. But suffering is inevitable. The only question is, will we suffer without purpose, or will we suffer for something greater? Will we remain hopeless and lost, or will we endure hardship in pursuit of our highest potential? There are always two sides to the coin. We can suffer aimlessly, or we can suffer with meaning. We can embrace the pain of growth, of stepping into the unknown, of living on our edge, failure, discomfort, knowing that this suffering leads to strength, to greatness, to fulfillment, and ultimately to a life of purpose. Sovereignty is the answer to this crisis of meaning, lack of direction, and uncertainty. Society, institutions, and mainstream values no longer provide answers to our questions. They no longer provide us clear direction or meaning. Instead, they are falling apart. Sovereignty means becoming independent from society's destructive influence, no longer reacting solely within the framework of societal rewards and punishments. To be sovereign means achieving personal autonomy and developing one's own standards of excellence and failure. It means learning to reward oneself, striving for awareness and consciousness, recognizing what is going wrong and how to set it right. Sovereignty means finding, cultivating, and living gratitude, joy, love, excellence in everything you do, purpose in your striving, clarity of direction, inner security, trust and strength in yourself, understanding of reality. All of these independent of external circumstances. It means bringing these qualities into the world. Sovereignty means giving and loving unconditionally, regardless of external circumstances and conditions. Sovereignty is independence. Sovereignty is unconditional. Unconditional in one's being and striving despite external circumstances. Sovereignty means being bound only by self-chosen conditions and frameworks. The one who has a why can withstand any how. This is a quote from Friedrich Nietzsche, and with this I thank you for listening. I hope dearly that this is valuable to you, that my thoughts and ideas and the ideas of others could spark some of your own in yourself. I'm deeply grateful for every comment and like you leave. If you want to follow up with further videos of mine, feel free to subscribe to my channel, and thank you from my heart. Thank you. Till next time.